Catalina Aircraft Company has engineered the amphibious multi-role Orcon to support Marine combat operations in aviation assault roles worldwide. Drawing on the historic legacy of amphibious aviation operations, the Catalina Orcon fills a key role of deploying and keeping Marines on mission. Designed for expanded O-line flight maintenance, the Catalina Orcon is built to sustain the amphibious advantage. Visit catalina-aircraft.com to learn more.
Hey Scuttlebutt listeners, welcome to episode 252. This week, we bring you another installment of World of Wargaming with Alex Buck. Alex is a major in the Canadian Armed Forces and an advocate for the benefits of wargaming. Alex talks to us about how he came to be in the Armed Forces, what it was like to be a Canadian in America during September 11th, his deployment experiences and some of the similarities and differences between Canadian and U.S. militaries, and how he was introduced to wargaming and what it is about wargaming that's so important for militaries to be doing. He's also a self-professed professional fun seeker, so it was fun to hear what that entails. It was really cool to talk to a member of a keyed allied nation's military and to get perspectives from outside the American lens. And as advertised, talking with Alex was a lot of fun, and it was great to learn more about one of our most trusted and committed allies. This is episode 252. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. Thank you for joining us and your continued support. I'm Vic. I'm here with William.
Howdy, y'all.
And we are really excited to be bringing you another installment of World of Wargaming. For anybody who's been paying attention to our catalog, the last World of Wargaming episode we had two experts, wargamers give a review on Mission Match by not a very good teacher, my sons Aiden and Noah. And although I'm not sure we'll quite reach that pinnacle of analysis, we're going to come really close today. Really excited to be welcoming Canadian Army Officer Major Alex Buck to the show. Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. Happy to talk about what we're doing up here in Canada.
Oh man, I'm really excited because I'm really interested in it. As much as we've served as I've served, and we being the collective we of the U.S. military, as much as we've participated in the joint world, I never had the pleasure of serving with Canadians. So I'm really interested to dive into your experiences, your career path, and really some of the things that are similar and different between us. Obviously, as you well know, before we started recording, you mentioned that you'd spent some time here in Quantico, so you know that the Marine Corps culture is, as we like to think, very special. It's very closed in at times, can be a bit closed off and a little elitist. Rightfully so, I believe, but that's an unbiased opinion. But yes, so just to get a perspective from outside, even the U.S. DoD perspective, I think is going to be super interesting. But for our listeners, the way that Alex and I got to know each other is you, and thank you so much for promoting our TDG collection on the MCA website. How did you come about that? Was it just a chance Google search, or how did you find us?
I was first exposed to them by another Canadian Army officer, actually, but he attended the Expeditionary Warfare School in Quantico, so I think he sort of learned about them down there back when I was a platoon commander, and brought them back to Canada and told us about them and started using them. And he's actually a battalion commander now, and he uses them all the time with his troops and his officers in his battalion. So I think he learned a lot on EWS and uses it now.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, dude, thanks. Please pass along our thanks. And again, thank you so much for promoting us. So let's talk a little bit about you. You're in Ontario now, is that correct?
Yep. So I live in Kingston, Ontario. I work at the Canadian Army Command and Staff College. I started out as a Army Operations Course directing staff here.
Okay.
But that was sort of after my career in the field force, in the infantry battalions and at our collective training centers. So
that's cool. So where are you from? What province are you from originally?
I was actually born in Kingston too, so it's worked out. I've gone full circle. But my dad was in the Army. He was a signals officer, and Kingston's sort of the home of the Signals Corps. So through my childhood, I came back here often, and happy to be back again. So
one of the things, and we're actually going to be this week dropping a Father's Day episode, sort of talking a little bit about legacy. So for the Marine Corps legacy, it's in the water, man. It's like in the DNA. Is it the same for Canadian service members, or?
I think so. I think our greatest recruiters are our parents in the Canadian Army, So a lot of Canadian Army members are children of formerly serving members. So
yeah, and you guys have had such a great relationship with us. I mean, really since 9/11, there hasn't been a conflict or an engagement that we haven't been alongside our Canadian brothers and sisters. What was that like? What years did you join? When did you?
I joined in 2006.
Oh, okay.
So actually, my dad was posted to Norfolk, Virginia, in August of 2001. So I did high school in Virginia Beach.
Oh, no kidding.
Sort of saw, I wouldn't say 9/11 firsthand, but I was living in the U.S. When 9/11 happened. So I saw the shift sort of over the course of my first several months living in the U.S. from being able to drive into Norfolk and see a bunch of battleships and carriers in dock. And then a couple of months later, they were gone.
It's a ghost town,
the whole world had changed, right? And a lot of my high school friends, went on to join the U.S. Army, Marine Corps, and Navy.
What was that like for you then? Were you like, holy shit, where am I? Or like...
Yeah, we didn't know what was going to happen. So we didn't know if we were going to stay or if we were going to go, but obviously we ended up staying, and I spent 4 years there. My parents lived there for almost 25 years. So my dad retired there and stayed. So
were you in contact? Like, I'm assuming you still had family in Canada. Were they just like, what was going on with the Buck family?
I don't really know, honestly. I mean, I was pretty focused on living my 13-year-old life in high school. So, but I knew the world had changed for sure.
Yeah.
And it was a very different atmosphere in September of 2001 than it was in August of 2001. So
was the Army?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, William.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about your decision to join the Canadian Armed Forces.
Yeah, so I had always wanted to be in the Army. Ever since I was a kid, I definitely went at every Halloween. I went as a soldier. My dad was in the Army, so I wanted to follow in his footsteps. But then actually when I finished high school, I had applied to be a signals officer and go to our, what we call the Royal Military College, sort of like our West Point equivalent, but for the entire armed forces. And I got accepted as a signals officer to go into engineering. But by the end of high school, I decided I didn't want to do engineering. And no one told me I could change my mind. So I went to first year of university on my own at Queen's, actually here in Kingston, and then joined after first year.
So. And then, was it kind of like an ROTC program, or were
so we call it ROTP.
Okay.
The regular officer training program. And it's similar, except you are a, fully enrolled regular member of the armed forces at the time, and you have a trade. So it's all, you're in, you're not sort of doing university and then you get your trade and join later. I joined as an infantry officer in 2006 at the end of my first year of university, and kept going to university, but was also a regularly enrolled member.
And did you have to do our reserves, we have to drill? And so was that kind of like, did you have to do 1 month?
We would go away for summer training.
Okay.
But it's the same training you would get if you sort of joined off the street. So those guys would go through, they would join, on day one, they would go through about a year or 18 months of training to become an infantry officer. I broke up some of mine through the summers.
Gotcha.
While I was in university, so.
Is it uncommon for folks to get sort of pulled out of university, or is it pretty locked in that they'll let you finish?
They'll let you finish, yeah. You need a degree to be an officer in the Army, so or in the Canadian Army. So
yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. And so what was your family's response to you joining? Pretty happy, or like,
yeah, I think they were happy because I think they expected me to out of high school, and that first year was sort of in flux. So yeah, I think they were expecting me to go to RMC and get my degree paid for, and then I had to pay for first year on our own. So
Yeah.
that was a change from the plan. But then once I joined the ROTP program, they started paying for it again. So I think they were happy with that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What was it about infantry that sort of pulled you away from the signals corps?
I thought, and I still think, that sort of the infantry is one of the rawest human experiences you can have.
Mm-hmm.
You're sort of just humans doing hard things together.
Right.
And I wanted to see that and do that. So.
Oh, yeah. That's really cool. And you guys don't have a Marine Corps.
No, we don't. No.
So what is amphibious doctrine to you guys then? Is it a special forces thing, or what is it?
No, we do have some amphibious doctrine. And I believe that one of our infantry regiments has sort of an amphibious, they think about amphibious operations.
Okay.
But I don't think we have a very robust capability right now. So.
Gotcha. Is it just so for our Navy, obviously, as you well know, Marines will embark on ships that are designed almost specifically, or they are designed specifically to take Marines to the fight. Do you guys have that kind of?
No, we don't. We don't have that capability in the Canadian Armed Forces.
Okay.
We're going through a period of modernization right now. Yeah, it's all sort of flying in. We're going through a period of modernization right now where we're rethinking sort of how we do operations and how we should be structured for operations. So I don't know where that's going to go in that regard, but we're changing a lot of things right now to make ourselves more combat capable and more able to enter theaters effectively.
Okay, so cool, man. I love it. And I guess this is a really stupid question. It's going to really show my naivete. But what is the culture like for Canadians towards its service members?
That's a good question. I think it's good. I mean,
yeah.
I think it ebbs and flows like anything, depending on what we're doing in the world militarily. I think in the 90s, I've heard that it was very negative. And the Canadian population wasn't very happy with the military or the government's use of the military. But that has changed a lot. I think through our experience in Afghanistan, the population really got behind us. And yeah, I think we have a good relationship with Canadians now. So
that's all. And you have multiple deployments, is that right?
I do, yes. So when I first got to battalion, 2nd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment in 2011, we sort of immediately went into a workup and deployed for 9 months during 2012 to Afghanistan. And then I've also deployed to Ukraine to mentor Ukrainian counter-ID specialists. I went back to Afghanistan in 2020 with the U.S. Army as their chief of operations of a brigade there. And I also took my company, when I was a company commander, to the Middle East and Africa to do a non-combatant evacuation operation of Sudan. So.
Wow. What again, another stupid question, so I apologize, but what is it that you guys do to train up for these, very specific climates that don't seem to be organic to the Canadian landscape?
Well, right now Canada is very invested in Latvia.
Okay.
So we are the framework nation for a multinational brigade in Latvia, and we also have a battle group operating there. So Latvia is a lot like Canada.
Okay.
So it's easier to train for that, climate wise. But yeah, for Afghanistan and the Middle East and Africa, it's challenging for sure. They used to go to California to train. They do some training down there. They do some training in Texas to get it sort of more Afghan-like. I didn't have that experience. I did my training for my first deployment in Gagetown, New Brunswick, which is mostly swamps and trees.
Okay.
But we were doing sort of a different mission set while we were there. We were mostly focused on mentoring the Afghan National Army on that first deployment. So a lot of our training was focused on sort of relationship building and how to work with the Afghans, less on how to operate in the harsh conditions of, Kandahar or wherever we were operating. Although for that deployment, we were mostly in Kabul.
Okay. And then what was it like when you guys came home? I guess going back to the whole Canadian culture and outlook stuff, was it?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a day called Remembrance Day. It's on November 11th. Marks the end of the First World War. And I got back from my first deployment November 10th. So I went to Remembrance Day, in my uniform on November 11th, and definitely, I mean, people were very embracing us, and I think, like I said, I think the Canadian population, especially during those years while we were in Afghanistan, was very supportive of the Canadian Army. So,
man, that's cool. That's cool.
Well,
also,
Alex,
I saw on there.
Sorry, Vic, you go.
Yeah, it's our last question on this one. One of the things I saw on your social profiles is that you're also a professional fun seeker or fun maker.
I am a professional fun seeker for sure. That is one of my roles in life, I think.
Yeah, is that the dad fun stuff seeking, or is that the thrill seeking personal?
I think all. I mean, before I had children, I was definitely a avid rock climber, mountaineer, cyclist. I like getting outside, camping, doing long range sort of activities. That's definitely been tempered since I had children. So for the last 8 years, I haven't done that much of that. But I'm trying to get it back. I take my daughter every year on a sort of one-night backcountry summer camping trip.
Oh, cool.
And a one-night backcountry winter camping trip each year. And this year I'm going to take my son for the first time. So I'm hoping to start easing them into that life and get back to it,
That's great. That's awesome. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Echodyne's high-fidelity radars for maritime missions ensure expeditionary forces maintain decision advantage from shore to sea. Rapidly scale, evolve, and maneuver. Echodyne is trusted by defense organizations worldwide. Learn more at echodyne.com.
And now we're back.
Well, now since we're on the topic of fun and seeking it, tell us a little bit about your introductory to wargaming.
Yeah, so in 2020, I got back from that deployment with the U.S. Army to Afghanistan. And it was COVID, so it was locked down, couldn't do anything. I did a year-long French course in my basement, but then I needed a job in the Army. So I went to the Canadian Forces College in Toronto and worked remotely for them. And I was introduced to wargaming through Rob Engen, who was a professor there at the time. He now works at the Australian War College. But he was running a war game for the students on the Joint Staff Course. And I went in to help them in the White Cell and sort of saw how wargaming could give the students an opportunity to have a more experiential learning environment. And it really, I think, spoke to me, and I wanted to do it more. And I always felt that I didn't get enough of that when I was a more junior officer. I didn't have the opportunity to get reps in on things before I did them. It was always just go do this, and then I did it. But it was the first time, usually, right? And I saw an opportunity, I think, for Army officers to get reps before they went into the real deal. I really liked that. So I think I took it aboard then.
So let's go into a little bit. So are you talking more about there's two types of wargaming. One I would call you more, getting your reps and sets, and another one's more like prescriptive, developing policy. Which one were you more engaged with?
I'm more engaged with educational wargaming for sure. We do in the Army, at least in the Canadian Army, we use wargaming as a part of our planning process. To examine courses of action and refine them, sort of think through what could happen in a plan. But I think my focus is more on using them for education and getting people, those reps and sets on decision making, judgment, even factors analysis of an operation, but in the avenue of learning about it, less about developing a plan.
So I guess describe sort of the wargaming environment in the Canadian military. To what extent has it been institutionalized?
It hasn't been institutionalized. So we do, like I said, we do use it as part of our planning process, for sure. So all, Army officers that are qualified at the Army Operations course sort of understand that wargaming is a tool they can use to understand problems and think through a course of action. But certainly not all of them are proficient in using it as a tool for learning. And using it that way is not institutionalized, as far as I know, in any of our sort of major PME events. I know some of our schoolhouses, as you guys would say, are using them, right? At the low level, at the low tactical level. I'm working here at the Army Staff College to institutionalize it now. So
what are the processes you're taking to do that?
So when I was Army Operations Course directing staff, I noticed that we were doing a lot of planning, especially early in the course, that was sort of coming to fruition in the form of, a written op order or a con op, and then it was trash, right? And they'd move on to the next one. And that didn't really sit well with me. I thought we could do more, we could learn more. So I built, with the help of a lot of people, a wargaming system that we could use to examine those sort of battle group level problems. So they could play out their concept of operations in a way that let them see if it could be successful or fail, or where they could learn from it and see how their interaction with terrain, the enemy, might play out, right? Unfortunately, that didn't really gather that much traction. It worked really well for me, and I noticed very positive results. It's hard to train wargamers. It's hard to train people to use wargaming as a tool like that, because it's so dynamic. It's easy for a course member or course staff to sit in a seminar room and talk through a plan, right? And discuss it with their syndicate and go through, the principles of war and check them off as they talk through their plan. It's hard, I think, to play it out in a dynamic environment and, nudge them in the right direction where you need to, or talk through things as they come up in that manner. So I think it's challenging to train people to do that. And I haven't been able to put in the effort to do that because of sort of ongoing priorities and other things that we're working on here at the college. So
when you look at things like the Center for Strategic Internet, CSIS,
yeah.
When they ran their war game for Taiwan, I think it was last year, do other folks, especially the ones who are skeptical, hear those kind of results? Is it just sort of like you mentioned, like, oh, that's fascinating, next? Or are they like, hey, maybe this is a tool we can start to use at our level as well?
Yeah, I think in war games like that, people inherently want hard facts, right? They want data. That people like data. Wargaming, at least in my opinion, doesn't give you data, it gives you insights, right? It might give you an insight into a problem. But I think sometimes that doesn't sit well with people. People want to hear there's a 70% chance this will happen, or this will happen, right?
Yeah.
Or this will not happen. They don't want to hear that this could happen, or
right.
that we have an idea that something might be going on, and we've identified that we don't fully understand it. They definitely don't like hearing that. But I think that's sometimes what wargaming offers, which I think is important, right? But a lot of people want data to make their decisions, not insights. So
yeah,
I don't know what your thoughts on that are, William.
No, that's I can sort of see where they're coming from in that, but yeah, you sort of need that XYZ factor. So what sort of war games are you looking at trying to implement?
So now that I've transitioned sort of jobs at the college. I'm no longer working on that sort of captain level course. Now I'm working on a course that we're instituting called Advanced Land Power Studies, which is sort of equivalent to the Marine Corps SAW program or U.S. Army SAMs. It's different, but it's sort of inspired by that. So it's taking sort of senior majors, junior lieutenant colonels, and giving them the tools to think creatively and analytically about really complicated and complex problems on a grand scale, and synthesize that into a sort of result or a briefing product for their bosses, and to operate at the sort of operational level, or at least the tactical to operational sort of interface. And on that course, we want it to be balanced with theory and practice. So, the SAW and SAMS courses are heavily theoretical. The SAW in particular, goes through tons of historical examples, right, to develop pattern recognition about operational art through history, I think, so that their students can then identify it and implement it when they need to, right? I think on our course, what we want to do is do some of that and then actually have them practice it sort of extensively as we go. And we want them to deal with real life Army problems as well. So on the course, we're taking some of our Army divisions and looking at problem sets that they're dealing with right now. And we're using wargaming as a tool to better understand those problems, but also give our students educational reps on dealing with those problem sets.
If you wouldn't mind, could you talk a little bit about what some of those problem sets are and sort of what you guys see at the strategic and operational tactical levels?
So as I mentioned, the Canadian Army is going through a sort of massive modernization effort, and we're restructuring into a division that is capable of warfighting. So up until now, we have been structured administratively into divisions, but we're sort of combining our entire field force of the regular Army into one division. So one of the big problems that we're grappling with now is how to bring ourselves back up cognitively to division level warfighting. So one of the problems that we're going to deal with, and it's the sort of culminating problem set for the Advanced Land Power Studies course, is going over to Multinational Division North in Latvia, which Canada works with, and we have a brigade that falls under that division. And we're going to understand their operational theater, and we're going to work through some of their contingency planning in a wargaming setting. So we're actually taking a Marine Corps-inspired wargame, Littoral Commander, and I've been working with a team to uplift that game sort of from classic Marine Corps style, where it's the entire joint enterprise supporting the last 100 yards of a rifleman, and we're uplifting it to at least the multinational division level, and we're using that as a tool to help our students understand how to synchronize and sequence enablers at the division, corps, and theater national level in order to have effects on the ground, and how that links to, deep fires, sense, and sustainment, and making that whole thing work in an operational theater like Latvia.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So since wargaming is not institutionalized within the Canadian Armed Forces, what advice do you have to some of these, younger or junior officers who have some leeway in implementing it? What advice do you offer to them?
So I think one of my sort of messages, and you've probably seen, because we've talked a little bit about my social media presence, one of my big messages is that, in the Army, we spend a lot of time focusing on training our bodies, right? We do PT every day, right? But we don't train our minds the same way. And I think really just changing our mindset and thinking about training the cognitive space in a similar manner is important. So, take 30 minutes or 60 minutes every day and do something, right, to train your mind. And I've been offering a lot of tools for that. So some of them are war games. Some of them are tactical decision games, via the Marine Corps Gazette, and just reading, listening to podcasts like this one, stuff like that, right? To train your mind in the same way that you train your body. And the sort of moniker that I use is PD, like UPT, because I think we need to get after that. And I think wargaming is one of those tools. I think the advice that I would give to those sort of junior, we call them non-commissioned members, but junior enlisted and junior officers on that is to seek it out. I always tell people, and don't treat it like it's nerd stuff. I think that's one of the big things, right? So like, especially junior officers have this problem. I think they like to be self-deprecating. I'm sure the Canadian Army is the same way as the Marine Corps.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're always self-deprecating. But if you refer to it constantly as nerd stuff, you know, an infantry sergeant doesn't want to do nerd stuff. An infantry sergeant wants to, you know, train and rehearse to go fight and win.
Yeah.
They don't want to sit in their room doing nerd stuff. So if you call it a rehearsal or an exercise or a training event, I think that's a key part of it, right? And it just creates that culture of winning wars, not doing nerd stuff in the room, you know, so.
Man, that's such a good point. I think one of the forcing functions for the Marine Corps, because we had a very similar thing, at least when I was coming up, you know, many eons ago, it was a tactical thing. So even those who were in support of it, you know, sand table exercise, TDGs, it was usually a tactical level exercise so that platoon commanders could sharpen the skills of their squad leaders or fire team leaders. And then, like you said, sort of as you got to the higher, especially at the middle management level, it's pretty much like you mentioned for the SAW grads. Everybody else, you know, I just want to go do some killing. And then when you get up to the higher echelons, like, I ain't got time for that nerd shit. But the thing that forcing functioned, I think, for the Marine Corps was the budgetary concerns and the training area availability was like, look, I can't get my reps and sets because I don't have the ammo to pull and go do this massive live fire training exercise because all the ammo is going in the country, or all the training areas, the priorities are going to the units they're about to deploy. So how am I supposed to get my guys going? And then obviously with technological advances, it became more fun, if you will. But the only real way to get your reps and sets, man, you had to do like you said, you had to do the thinking part of it.
Right. And
because
Yeah, I think to build on that, you know, when you do get the opportunity to get the ammo and the training area and the people and the money and the food and the fuel to do a massive live fire training event, it shouldn't be your first time.
Right.
Like, you don't want to blow your first time on a super expensive training event. You may as well do that, you know, on the table, on the map, thinking through it. And then when you get to the real deal, or at least the real training deal, you know, you do a better job than you could have if it was your first time going in cold. You know?
Yeah, if I'm getting 5,000 rounds, I don't want to spend 3,000 of them doing a FAM fire. You know,
Exactly.
I want effects on target, baby.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's the same. Like if I have, you know, at the company level, if I've got a company of mechanized infantry, you know, fighting vehicles, a troop of tanks, you know, and all these air assets, I don't want to be sitting back in my, you know, RV thinking through what I'm doing. I want to go do it.
Right.
So Alex, let's talk some specifics. What's one physical and one digital war game that you would recommend to some of these junior officers in the Canadian military?
My recommendations are usually, like I said, I use Littoral Commander a lot. I think it sort of abstracts the right things in the right way, especially for junior officers. I think it lets them see not only the tactics of what they're doing, but also experience the sort of multi-echelon, you know, kill chain that makes stuff happen on the ground for them. One that I really enjoyed lately, actually, was through Marine Corps University, was Company Commander, I think it's called. It's a digital war game. Marine Corps University ran a competition that was based on it, and I had a lot of fun. It was really good for tactical level, like low tactics, and understanding how to maneuver vehicles, you know, through the battle space at that low level. So I think those would be my sort of two main recommendations, and they came from the Marine Corps, so it's perfect for this podcast. So, I mean, there's lots of others. Yeah, I mean, Take That Hill, that Fight Club International uses, is really good. So the Brits use that a lot, and we've had a British exchange officer here in Canada who's been pushing it over the last couple of years, and we've been using that a lot. That's also really good. So.
Awesome. So let's go. What's your future looking like?
So the Advanced Land Power Studies course starts in August. So I'm going to be very focused on that, I think, at least for the next year or couple of years. We've also got some other projects. So I just ran a tactical decision game contest last week. I know you're running one right now, or yeah, we're running one right now. I plan on doing those more frequently. I want to do them sort of quarterly if I can, if it doesn't become too much. But I had a lot of fun with this one. Got a lot of people on board, saw a lot of interesting submissions to the tactical problem that I presented. And people want more of that. I think the demand is there for all these things, especially the junior officers and the junior non-commissioned members really want to do this sort of thing, but they don't know where to go. Again, because we haven't sort of institutionalized it. They don't have the resources to get after this. So I'm trying to put out more information sort of via venues like this, via my social media platforms, and through the Army Staff College to make it more accessible so that they can get after it when they want to.
Dude, that's so cool. Yeah, we definitely need to collaborate in the future.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
All right. To close this out, what's your favorite war game?
I don't know. That's our question. I think like I said earlier, I have a list on my screen in front of me. I just spent the last.
Say the list. Just read the list off.
You want me to read the whole list? All right. So the list here is the Littoral Commander Coin series. Take That Hill. I already mentioned it. Race to the Rhine is really good. Major's Gambit through CGSC, U.S. Army. They put that out. It's a really good game. I got a lot of ideas from that one. I played Battle for Moscow a lot, actually, with people. That was introduced to me via our U.S. Army exchange officer here at the Army Staff College. And I find that it's super simple, good intro to wargaming. Talks about a lot of stuff like tempo, synchronization, but in a simple way. Force ratios are there. So I've been using that a lot lately to sort of introduce people to wargaming. So thanks to him for that. That's for sure.
Awesome, Alex. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, man, this has been great.
Yeah, it was great talking to you guys.
Well, we'll be in touch, and thank you so much, and best of luck to you with everything.
Thanks, you too. Looking forward to working together in the future. This was fun.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Catalina Aircraft Company has engineered the amphibious multi-role Orcon to support Marine combat operations in aviation assault roles worldwide. Drawing on the historic legacy of amphibious aviation operations, the Catalina Orcon fills a key role of deploying and keeping Marines on mission. Designed for expanded O-line flight maintenance, the Catalina Orcon is built to sustain the amphibious advantage. Visit catalina-aircraft.com to learn more.
Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Litchman, William Truding, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.